This is the viral picture of the teenage boy Cuadria Labi, whose brief encounter with fame appears to have stirred up envy and threats, culminating in a 3-month detention at the Kirikiri Correctional Facility in Apapa. While hustling on the streets of Lagos back in 2023, the convoy of the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi rolled by, and Quadri spontaneously jumped in front of the convoy, arms outstretched. It was a picture that resonated with many, especially supporters of the presidential candidate.
You would recall that his photograph at the time became an internet sensation, and Nigerians became very interested in his case. Following that, a lot of people made donations to him, and his matter was widely reported. Quite sadly, people in the community felt, some people in the community, so-called area boys, felt entitled. In fact, I can also tell you that the Baale of their community specifically told Quadri's mother to buy a cow with rice and cook to appease the youths. Because they refused to do this, this family has been continuously witch-hunted since 2023. So in January, he was returning from work at night when 2 boys grabbed him, dragged him to the Amokoko Divisional Police Headquarters.
Following reports of Quadri's detention, the Lagos State Director of Public Prosecution, Dr. Babajide Martins, reviewed the charge and the case of the police against the teenager and came to the conclusion that he was not involved in armed robbery or any other offense. Magistrate Adetola Olorunfemi implemented the legal advice and freed the teenager. For over 3 hours, family, relatives, journalists and even the legal team waited for the documentation and formal release of the teenager to his lawyer.
The same people behind his travels, they have not left Nigeria, they have not left Lagos, they are still within that community. So it is only common sense that his family should be relocated somewhere else. So we'll be appealing to Nigerians of good conscience. Please extend a hand of help to this family. The divisional police officer of Amokoko Divisional Headquarters has to be removed. If the Commissioner of Police does not sanction him, along with the other officers who took part in this act of evil, what the Commissioner of Police Lagos will be telling Nigerians and the whole world is that the Lagos police now connive with criminal elements to abduct children.
I want to go to school. I want to help. I want people to help my mother because she don't have anything. You don't have anything she's doing.
For many Nigerians, Quadri's case is another painful example of the weaknesses of the institutions, particularly the police force and the justice system. Revisiting the juvenile justice system and the criminal justice system might be a good place to start the reform. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.
Let's go. One of the most disappointing stories this year, Larry.
Very painful, and there's so many factors to look at that makes it what we call in theater a tragedy. The roles are so many. Where do we start from? The community. When you hear how he was received or how he was treated by the community, is it by the state institution, the police? And it's instructive to point out that till now, the state police command has not made any statement either to counter or to clarify or to try to explain how does an underaged child get into the system and stay there for 3 months and nothing. And when the matter now gets to court, it's very clear that this child shouldn't have been here before. And there's a lot to say here. There's a lot I think this brings up for the Attorney General of the Federation, for the police IG. Something has to be said, and I find it really instructive that till now nothing has been said. I think these are some of the times you feel immediately they should have come out. They should say something, clarify, or do something about it. And I feel for the family. This young man is an example of a lot of people in the lower class who don't have access to fight for their rights within the justice system.
I mean, it does open up quite a number of questions. But let's get the psychiatrist in chief, Pinnacle Medical Services and How Body. She's joining us via Zoom, Dr. Maimuna Yusuf Kadiri. Thank you so much for being with us on the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Kayla. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, Nigerians.
I mean, how did this happen? And what are your thoughts on the mental health of this young boy? And then maybe you can also speak to us about the juvenile system in Nigeria and who protects children when they are caught in webs like this one.
Thank you so much, Kayla. This is a deep, troubling story, and must say, sadly, is not uncommon. That's it. That's just the part that really gets to me. Being a psychiatrist, and of course in training, there's what we call forensic psychiatry, and that means we have to go to the prison. So in Lagos, the prisons available, the minimum, maximum, Kirikiri, and of course the Ikoyi prison. So these are the prisons we visited in those 6 years of my training, and out of those 6 years, like up to 2 years, we did that prison rotation. A lot of waiting for trial Nigerians are in prison for years, like forgotten. So when I heard about Quadri's case yesterday, I wasn't, it wasn't something new to me, because I've seen people in prison 5 years, 7 years that were just parked by the police and dumped there, and they have never seen the four walls of the court. And this goes a long way to showing how, this 17-year-old just being criminalized due to envy, misinformation, and most importantly, system failure. The system failed this boy. 17-year-old shouldn't be in that kind of a place. There's a juvenile court. There's what we call the younger ones, the juvenile, where they can get properly rehabilitated, even though we know it is not what it's supposed to be, because immediate, short, and long-term psychological effect can be disheartening. This is a child whose brain is still going through maturation, still going through full development, and will not stop growing up until he is in his 25, 26 years of age. So what happens to such a person like that? The system has just broken this boy's trust. Trust because of the being incarcerated, the anger, bitterness, and of course the vengeful thought that he was being there. How does he even trust people in the society? How does he even trust family, friends? Because it was more like, from the story, a gang up, and then the system that's supposed to protect him then got him into prison. So of course, anger, bitterness comes in, trust issues comes in, identity crisis comes in. He attained fame. We all watched that episode where he stood and was a symbol of hope for every young Nigerian and for the future. And of course, things like this will just make him start doubting himself. Will I ever do such a thing like this before in my life? Will I ever stand for hope? Will I ever be? Because he got fame, but what did the system do to him? 3 months in prison, and we know incarceration, how it affects our mental health. So anger, bitterness, resentment, of course, the trust issues, identity crisis. Let us now come into what Nigerians get to know when it comes to psychological issues. Anxiety, depression. Long time, we are talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. Because this boy can begin to
get your thoughts on some of the things that were said yesterday. The lawyer to the boy, to Quadri, what he kept saying was that we need to relocate them from that community, because, and it's important that we point this out.
Yes,
according to the story, it was the ballet of the community that said they should kill a cow.
Exactly.
For the community. I don't understand what that means. And when they refused to do it, we now heard about this happening to the boy.
Yeah.
What should well-meaning Nigerians be thinking about? Because listening to him, he said, I want to go to school. And then there's the fact that he has to go back to that community until they move out. Is he still in danger?
He is. He is. For all well-meaning Nigerians right now, there are immediate things that boy needs right now. Apart from immediate psychological evaluation, because you can't just take somebody from the comfort of his home, even if he was sleeping on the floor, you are taking him to prison. See, if there's anything anyone needs to pray as a Nigerian, please don't ever be found for any reason to be locked up in prison. The prisons are not what Nigeria, it's not what it's supposed to be. And that boy been there for 3 months, coming back to the same community that casted him, that threw him out there. He can never trust that community, and he is not safe. So immediately, apart from the psychological evaluation, trauma-focused therapy that he needs to be relocated, him and his family members. Because truly, if they could gang up and sell him out, coming back there,
Dr.
it's
Quadri,
not something you can't really sleep. You can't.
Dr. Quadri, I'll just like to get a clarification from you. Earlier on, you said during your time going to prisons, yes, you said that it's not uncommon. What did you mean? Do you mean having children in prisons and having them not be sure what they're there for and awaiting trial?
Awaiting trial is not uncommon.
Yes, but children.
Yes, awaiting trial is not uncommon. So that is uncommon. But also younger people, young people in their 18s, early 20s. Okay. These are people that have a whole life ahead of them. So it is not uncommon having these people in prison. Trust me.
So can you please help us? How can the system, is there a place in your own practice where this sort of you've mentioned a lot that he may feel the effect from this episode. Is there a system, is there a place where he can be handled, helped within your practice?
Because I'm in private practice, and when it comes to things like this, it's government-oriented, it's government-based. So we also have government-based hospitals. We have 8 or 9 standalone psychiatric hospitals that it can receive evaluation. For me, in my private practice, of course, immediate psychological evaluation. Let us help him unravel those negative thoughts, all the things that he went through the prison, because reintegrating him back to the family and the society is not just a one-size-fit or we just leave him, oh, Quadri, now you have been released, go and meet mommy and daddy and go home. No, it is not. This boy has been traumatized. 3 months in prison, you can't even wish your enemy that. So yes, that immediate psychological evaluation, we do give that. And then of course, now know what he is dealing with, and then let him be aware of the issues that may arise now that he's back home. And the family members brought into that therapy session, because we also need family therapy, brought into that session and teach them how to support Quadri, how to help him, and not trivialize some of the things he may come up with and start discussing, not make him feel, alienated, and give him all the love and create that safe space for him to heal, thrive, and flourish, and not be in that default, survivor mode.
I mean, have you reached out to Quadri? I want to know if you have you.
I don't have a link to him. If I have a link to him, trust me, my organization, Pinnacle Medical Services, we have the NGO part, Pinnacle Medical Speakers Initiative. We can take this on board.
I really think you should. I think with all due respect, I actually do think you should, more than talking about it here, actually reach out to that family, because they're up against the traditional institution in their community, the law. He's actually in a very difficult space right now. It might even get worse. The attacks on him could even get worse. Am I correct in that sense? And how quickly can you get there? How quickly can you get there?
I didn't get that. How quickly can we do what?
How quickly can you get to Quadri?
Well, I was reached out to by the channel's team members, Shola Shole, Chris Elam. Is also reached out because Shola was right there in the courtroom when he was released, and she stayed all through to make sure that he was discharged for his family. So it's to reach out, and I think there's an NGO behind it. So definitely that NGO will have all the information. So if I reach out to Shola and the channel's team, I should be able to know what to do and how to help. We are in Lagos. There's nowhere that is too far, even if it's not even.
As long as you don't go through the Kara Bridge, you don't have to go through the Kara Bridge today. But I think that more than talking about it here, it's important that we make the next step, which is to protect him, make sure that they are okay. Because if we talk about it in the news and discuss it on programs and it just goes, what happens to the people who fall within the cracks? And that brings me to my next question, the children who fall within the cracks of our juvenile system. You mentioned, and Larry had talked about it earlier, the fact that there are lots of people who may be underage who are still awaiting trial and going through what Quadri had to go through. But I want to be able to get your thoughts on how we handle underage children. Now, in Quadri's case, he was accused of armed robbery, and it turns out that there was nothing of the sort going on. You know, but even in the case of kids who are, you know, caught up in difficult situations, how would you assess our juvenile system and how we're taking care of these kids?
So the thing is that the true test of any society is how it treats its most vulnerable. That's the true test of any society, and of course Nigeria included, how we treat the most vulnerable. Children are vulnerable. Let's not forget, children have parents at home, children have parents in form of school and teachers, children have parents in form of the elders and older people in the society. Our juvenile system needs to be nipped on board. Our juvenile system, we need to harness the power and the opportunities we have in our young persons. They are the future. They are the legacy we are going to leave behind. They have a lot to give us. And if we keep, you know, if system fails them, with a case of Quadri like this, system failure continue to fail them, how do they trust in the leadership? How do they trust the system to support and help them when they need it? For me, the juvenile system needs a lot of real orientation, re-evaluation, and we are good with laws. I must tell you, like for us in the mental health space, our law has been passed right now. Implementation and execution is the next thing, and it may take years before this is done. So we need a total overhaul. I know the government is doing quite a lot. The Minister for Interior and all the other ministers, I see quite a number of them doing a lot. But for all in the juvenile system, a lot needs to be done. Behavioral change even among the law enforcement agents. Because in this boy's case, how can a 17-year-old be said he was he's an armed robber, and without getting all the necessary information, is locked up in prison? These are some of the things that we shouldn't do. We must work with facts, not work with emotions or work with, oh, I heard or I know. No, what
Dr.
do you need to do to make sure that you do not
happen again? Dr. Quadri, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Very painful. I really look forward to understanding how the officers in this case went about their job. Elementary first point, what do you write down as the statement? And you know, it looks like that all got muddled up. But I'd like to keep our eye on the young man. In your own assessment, you said some of the effects are painful, some are very diverse. But in your own assessment, how long do you think it will take to be able to address and maybe try and correct some of this effect?
So this is where it gets interesting. As human beings, it's never a one-size-fits-all. Because I've never encountered Quadri before, when I meet him, I will need to talk to him and understand his background, his upbringing, get even to speak to the mom, understand if there's anything that happened, you know, in the pregnancy, the delivery. All that gives me the template to know what do I need to tailor to him in his pathway to healing, in his, you know, a pursuit for greatness. How can I support him? How can I get him to be whole again? So it's not me here now say, oh, I will do this, I'll do this. All that history, and then of course the history in the prison, what went on, take all of them together, then of course now chart a management course and so, okay, yes, but of course immediately, like I said, the immediate psychological evaluation must be done, trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, family therapy and reintegration. And because he is 17 years old, he's Quadri, he's black, he's lives in Lagos, he lives in Ajegule. There are many other factors, even social determinants of health. There are so many things I will harness together and say, okay, this is what we do, and then begin to monitor how he is making progress in his pathway to recovery. It's never a one-size.
Dr. Quadri, I'd like to ask you a question. In your own opinion, because it seems while we're focusing on Quadri, because of your specialty, is there a need for us to look at an evaluation for officers and people who work in this system too? Do you think we need to do some sort of psychiatric assessment?
We do. We definitely need to have psychiatric assessment for people in our environment, especially the officers involved. Sorry for that short, brief in transmission.
Okay.
Yes, we definitely need that. And why do I say we definitely? That is where I said that reorientation and, of course, behavioral change. Because sometimes when we blame people, we do not know the trainings they've had, we do not know the skills and expertise they have. So now we know better. Why don't we go and find out what trainings have they had? And if those trainings are not there, put them in place. If they've had those trainings before, there's nothing wrong in having to have a recourse. No, come back for updates. Let us make sure that we update you in the current trends, in the management, and what you need to do to help people in this kind of situation. Because behavioral change is very important for officers in this area. When somebody walks into the police station, you're already agitated, you're already anxious that you are going to prison. Officers need to be a source of hope and calm to people when they come, like, calm down, let's talk about what happened. Not the one that, the moment you don't see a police officer, you're already thinking of prison, you're already thinking of death, you're already thinking of all the worst case scenarios. So yes, it is important that these, if they're not in place, they should be trained, and if they have already done that, there's nothing wrong in updates and retraining to make sure the system is aligning to the current challenges, because things are happening and we cannot be left behind because we are Nigerians. The world is not going to end or stop because we are Nigerians. So let's align with what is happening all over the world and how to make sure that our officers are updated to how to treat and take care of cases like this when they come up.
All right, Dr. Maimuna Yusuf Quadri, psychiatrist in Chief Pinnacle Medical Services and How Body. Thank you very much for being with us on the program. And I'll be following up on you to find out whether you have reached him today. Let's see how we can do what's necessary immediately.
You're right. Thank you so much. Thank you.